Welcome to the Wokest Warn, where we have the Wokest Discourse. Tonight I am going to ramble on about fascism to try to come to some ideas about its current display in America in 2026. Okay, so first of all, reading Georgy Dimitrov, and I'm pretty sure that's not how you pronounce his name, but I'm reading this speech that he gave to the, what was it, the 7th? I can't remember. You know what? It doesn't matter. I can't remember. He made a speech to a big group of communists and back in 1935. And I read this speech some years ago when I took a class on fascism, and I paid particular attention when I was on spoke on a panel about fascism back in 2022, I think it was. And at the time of the panel discussion, it was like pre-fascism. It was like maybe the United States is headed into fascism. And like, what do we do about it? You know? Well, Dimitrov has some very definite things to say about that. He says that if you don't... Well, he doesn't really say that. I mean, he says, like, you have to smash it in the beginning stages. He doesn't tell us, like, what happens if you don't. I mean, he just points to Germany as an example. He's like, if you don't smash fascism while it is getting started, you end up like Nazi Germany. And so we did not, in the United States, smash fascism in 2023, 24, or 25. In fact, it seems like the people pretty much supported it, white people, who are still in the majority in the United States. They were like, hell yeah, we want our white privilege. And finance capital was like, I think that I know a way we can make that happen. Now, of course, it didn't happen that way. Finance capital wants to do what finance capital wants to do. Now, what the fuck is finance capital? I looked it up, and Claude says that finance capital is basically any form of capital that is not involved directly with production. So you're talking about banking, finance, stock markets, bonds, investment instruments, stuff like that. And where specifically most working class Americans will experience this is, well, I was gonna say something else, but then I thought rent. Like, okay, if you own your own home, you probably have a mortgage. You probably pay your mortgage to the bank. If you don't own your own home, you probably rent, and you are paying your money every month to an investment company, a company that is invested in the property that you live in. and they allow you to live there in exchange for extorting a very large percentage of your income. It's a tax, basically. Rent is a tax. It's like, oh, you want to live? Okay, give us half your money. That's what rent is. So if you think of it that way, if you think of rent as a tax, you start to see how maybe like a 60% tax like they have in Sweden really isn't that bad. Because think about how much a percentage of your income goes to taxes. I'm talking Social Security. I'm talking everything they pull out of your paycheck, plus what you're paying in sales tax. Every time you go to the store, every time you buy gasoline, all day long, you're paying taxes. If you add your rent onto that, you can see that the amount of money you're paying in your taxes is if you're a working class person, it's the majority of your income. So, like, if we lived in Sweden, first of all, we wouldn't be in the tax bracket that pays 60% tax. And we would actually keep more of what we make. I know that might be hard for like middle class people to understand, because you're so used to thinking of all of these things that you have to pay for out of pocket, like your healthcare, your housing, your transportation. You know, where if you were in a socialist country, you wouldn't have to pay those things, right? Like, you wouldn't have to own your own car because there would be free public transit. You wouldn't have to pay your rent because there would be public housing. You wouldn't have to pay for your health insurance premiums because we would have universal health care, right? So, I mean, what else is there? Like your utilities? You know, in some communist countries, utilities are free. Like in Mongolia, your heat is free. Everybody gets free heat. Like, it's a right. Like, as long as there is a government in Mongolia, they feel that the people need to be provided with heat because it's fucking cold there. And that makes sense to me. But think about your bills that you pay every month. What do you pay? Your car payment, gas for your car insurance. That's hundreds of dollars right there. That if you take free public transit, you do not have to pay for any of those things. Your rent. Okay, your rent is like between 30 and 50% of your income if you're working class. That's what it's averaging right now. And transportation's usually like 10 to 15%. It used to be less. It's more now. So if your rent is, let's say, 35% of your income, and your transportation costs are 15% of your income, there's half your paycheck gone right there. That's before you pay any taxes. So, okay, so number one, your rent gets paid to finance capital. Or your mortgage goes to a bank, which is finance capital. And one of the ways that we're really seeing finance capital take a wrecking ball to our lives is the way that private equity has been buying up corporations and like stripping them for copper. So it's like, you have a company that manufactures something, it makes something, it serves a purpose in the world. And private equity will buy that up and then sell it. And I had to think about this for a really long time before it made sense. Because I'm like, where the fuck do you sell robots? You know, where do you sell like manufacturing equipment? Well, the answer is to other countries, right? So like you buy a factory in Wisconsin and then you take all the machines and all the assets and you invest that in a factory building the same thing in Brazil. And then you make your money because you're not paying the workers as much money. You're paying them less. So that's more profit for you. But yeah, finance capital will fuck you up. And they have been not making as much profit as they want to. So what they do is they exert their pressure on the government to open up more markets through imperialism. And we've done that in Venezuela. We're trying to do that in Iran. We're trying to do that in Cuba. Like, they're trying to basically colonize any new territory they can. It's just a kleptocracy. Like, it's a ripoff show. They're like, we're not making enough profit. Maybe go invade some other countries so we can steal their natural resources. I mean, kind of, basically. This war in Iran is so people can make money. Trump is personally getting rich off of this. Even Barron Trump personally got rich on this. He like bet on gas, like the price of gas. He knew when the war was going to start. So like right before the war started, he bought up a ton of gas, crude oil, or gasoline. I'm not sure which, honestly, because the article I maybe it was natural gas that he bought. Anyway, the amount of speculation that is being done in insider trading that is being done by Trump and his friends is like outrageous. And I'm not saying this as a Democrat because, as you know, I'm not a Democrat. I'm saying, like, if you're a Republican even, you need to look at, like, the total ripoff that's happening. This is not Trump derangement syndrome. This is, like, literally Donald Trump's second term is going to go down in history as the most decadent, corrupt administration in the history of the United States. And we've had some pretty corrupt administrations. You know, the Grant presidency was notoriously corrupt. But yeah, like Trump is just personally, like, his kids are billionaires now. Like, for no reason. Because they, like, moved some money around. Move some money around here, move some money around there, move some money around here. You keep moving the money around, speculating, and you keep getting more and more profit. But, like, it's not real. Like, they still need what you have. And it's not because they're like greedy or they're bad people. that's just the way capitalism works. It never fucking stops. Think of it like something I know nothing about, but like a heroin addiction. You know, you start off doing heroin and you can't stop. But not only do you need more heroin, you have a tolerance. So you need more heroin than you had last time just to keep from getting sick. And that's like capitalism. Like capitalism needs profits. And if it doesn't generate enough profit, it gets sick. And fascism is the way that it gets better, right? So you have an economic crisis and you turn to fascism to get better. And there's like 3 ways that happens. One is when the state takes over control, when you have an authoritarian government, the state will take control of the entire economy. And Dimitrov talks about how this occurs differently in different places at different time periods, in a way that I think of like Christianity is practiced in different places, different ways, and in different periods of time, Christianity was practiced in different ways, like that, right? So fascism is different depending on where in the world it happens, what year it is, the people involved. It's very contextualized. But basically, you have the state stabilizing markets, right? The state takes control of the market and like fucks with the market so that rich people continue to get richer. So that is why the fascists hate the neoliberals, right? Like, you ever hear Republicans talk shit on George Soros? Yeah, they fucking hate George Soros. You know why? Because George Soros is their competition. And he has a totally different ideology. He believes in free markets. This is going to totally blow your mind, because if you thought you were a Republican, that you believed in free markets, that is not necessarily the case, okay? Because like if you're rich and you want a free market, you're like George Soros. But if you're rich and you want to use the state to get yourself richer, like Elon Musk, you're a fascist. Like, you know, that's where most Elon Musk's money comes from, is it comes directly from the state. The United States and other states. It sells satellite services to state clients. It has satellite, you know, it has state clients. They're not making their money selling Teslas anymore, right? Because, you know, everybody stopped buying Teslas, I guess. I guess their cars aren't doing very well. But they make money off of like rockets and shit and defense contracts. And he tried to do this like boring industry that was stupid. But yeah, like big government contracts is how Elon Musk made his money. Lots of it. So he doesn't give a damn about a free market. He wants state control. The more influence Elon Musk can have on Trump, the more money Elon Musk makes. So I try to look at this from the point of view of working class people that get sucked into fascism and why they do it. It's because they get something out of the deal usually. And we think of it as being usually like racism. It could take a different form in a different country in a different year. You know, like if we were writing a science fiction novel and this was taking place in another galaxy, it wouldn't have to be racism. It could be something else. But basically, fascism appeals to the working classes by offering them something direct, immediate, and material. How do they do that? In the United States, traditionally through racism. So, like you create whiteness, white privilege, and then that is how you get an army of white people to support you, which you need because they are the majority. So as long as you have the support of white people, you're in the majority. That's why they're freaking out so hard about how white people are not going to be the majority because of demographics. Because white Americans have fewer children than recent immigrants. Immigrants tend to have more children than people whose families have been here multiple generations. So that's why like JD Vance is like saying all that weird shit about how you have to have more babies if you're white. Like it's stupid. It's really stupid because this fascist thing is going to burn itself out before you would enter another demographic cycle. Right? So like decisions that are being made about having babies now, those babies aren't going to be able to vote for 18 years. And does anybody think that this regime is going to last 18 years? It's impossible. How old would Trump be? He'd be like fucking 100 years old. Like, this regime will not last 18 years. So why are they talking about these strategies that involve white people having babies? It makes no sense to me. I just think they're fucking stupid. I really do. Like, the hubris is they think that they're still going to be in charge. Like, I have news for you. There's no possible way that's going to happen because 18 years more of global warming, like, this government's not going to be around anymore. You need to start, like, thinking about that. You need to start getting used to the idea that the United States of America does not matter. Not only is it not worth saving because it was shit to begin with, but it's not worth trying to save because, like, that ship sailed. That ship sailed when they went with fossil fuels. Sorry. Like, that's just the way it is. So the rich people, when they're talking about shit 20 years from now, it makes no sense to me because there's not going to be 20 years from now. They need to make their money fast. They recognize, even though they tell everybody, oh, climate change isn't real, they know it's real. They make their financial decisions based on how real it is. They need to make as much money right now as they possibly can. That's the imperative. Make the money right now. And now keeps getting shorter and shorter and shorter periods of time. Like, it used to be the quarterly report. like, oh, we have to show quarterly earnings. Now, with the highly speculative nature of finance capital, like all the speculation that's going on, it's like day to day, minute to minute. The market is like completely nuts from one day to the next lately. Did you notice that? I don't usually watch the business news, but like the price of gas went up like overnight an insane amount when they went to war with Iran. And then they said that today Trump said we weren't at war with Iran, and then the price of oil went back down. Y'all, it is going to be bad. This war is economically going to be so bad. And I'm telling you this now to say, don't do what I'm doing. Don't plan a vacation this year. Plan on like putting as much money in the mattress as you can. I mean, your money might not be worth anything, so I'm not necessarily saying money. It could be gold. It could be something else that you that you can sell, like you could invest it. If you say you had like an agribusiness, you could like invest it in equipment for your farm, because everything is like gonna go completely fucking to shit, because that's what happens. Finance capital cannot stop itself. It's like a heroin addict. They will keep doing these imperialist wars to try to open up new markets. They constantly like Lenin wrote about this, okay? It's true. It's like they just have to open up new markets. So they have to go destabilize some country so that they can expand their markets to that country. And so right now, Trump's got wars going around like all over the fucking world. He's like even fucking with Mexico. He's fucking with Mexico. He's fucking with Venezuela. He's fucking with Cuba. Now he's fucking with Iran. It's bad. Like, what do you think the environmental effects of all these bombs are going to be? How long before Trump uses a nuke? Like, this is really something that could really happen. I'm not being paranoid. This is something that could really happen. They said we're out of Tomahawk missiles and they're going to be doing bombing now because they don't have missiles. They have to use bombs. It takes a long time, apparently, to manufacture missiles, and they didn't think about that before they went and used up all the missiles. Supposedly, their plan was to try to, like, get missiles back from other countries, like, that we sold them to, like South Korea, but apparently South Korea was like, no. I don't even know where I learned that. Anyway. You might think about what you might want to do now if next year is the collapse of the United States of America. Because if we have a nuclear exchange, like, that's it. There's no more government. Like, the United States collapses. What would you need to survive if the United States collapsed? Because what it's going to be like is in Germany after the war, where it was like complete deprivation. Like people starved. People were so poor, they were starving. And that's with aid. Like they were pulling people out of Germany and like having them resettle here and in England and like other places because Germany's economy was so trashed after the war that the people there were just starving. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to take advantage of this opportunity to try to prepare to get out of the United States. Because I have a feeling that this area, Warren, Ohio, is not where I want to be when the nuclear exchange happens. I'm thinking like the deserts of Kazakhstan or where you want to be. But then I'm like, no, that's probably where they like have their nukes at. Russia has their nukes in Kazakhstan. So yeah, basically the whole thing is gonna fucking fall apart. And I saw this like comic today that said, what do you do when your friends are walking around like everything is normal? And it showed a corner of a building, and on one side of the building on a street, there were people walking back and forth like with their dogs, and they're going shopping, headed to work. And then on the other side, around the corner in the alley, ICE is like beating the fuck out of people. And it's like, well, how do you engage the people on the street to come stop what's doing in the alley? And I don't know if you can, because there's these layers of racism on top of it, because fascism makes a deal with the working class, a section of the working class, and says, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take half of you and make you slaves. And then we're going to take half of you and make you the overseers. Okay? And the people that get put into the group that is going to be the overseers are not fired up to stop this, right? Like if you're in the group that is going to be the slave, you're like, this shit is bad, and you know it, and people don't have to explain that to you. But what I'm saying is to white people in the United States, like, that's what they're doing. That is the plan. The plan is to put more people in prison and make more people slaves. Because you know that the people who are in prison are like slaves. They have to work jobs and they don't get paid. Or they get paid like 10 cents an hour or something insane. So they want more of us to be in prison. That's why they're building these detention centers. Now, I don't think their plan is going to work out. I don't think it's going to work out. I think the detention centers are crazy, and they're just like asking for like tuberculosis to break out in one of those. Like, it's not going to work out. Their plan sucks. But what their plan is that they want to make half of us slaves. How do they decide which half is which? Well, we already have 400 years of racism, colorism, right? So they just say, okay, the white people are going to be the overseers, and all of the black and brown people are going to be the slaves. That's what's happening right now. That's why there's so much animosity towards white people right now in the United States, because our fellow Americans are asking us, like, hey, do you think you can help us? Like, we need solidarity. Like, they're going to do really, really, really bad stuff to us. Can you help us stop them? Because they're going to use you to do it to us. That's the plan. The plan is for the billionaires or finance capital. Okay, anytime somebody says finance capital, if you don't understand what that means, just substitute billionaires. The billionaires want to bring back slavery. And they can only do that if we let them. Now, I'm just trying to figure out how to say this. It's very, very important, if the government has pointed to you and told you that you're going to get to be in the overseer class, that you reject that and you stand in solidarity with your fellow Americans. Like, when they come out and say, hey, do you want to work for ICE? The answer is fuck no. And if you do, if you go and work for ICE, like, you're the enemy now. You are the enemy. You have a choice. You have a choice. You can decide to lean into it and become the overseer, or you can reject white supremacy. That's what Dimitrov would tell us that we need to be doing right now more than anything, is to stop the fucking fascism before it fucking gets going. It's too late. But it will make a difference and possibly save some lives if you throw your monkey wrench into the system. Reject white supremacy, reject white privilege, and stand in solidarity with your fellow Americans. Thanks for listening.